Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for today's Product Deep Dive webinar on building better candidate relationships. My name is Megan Berry and I am on the marketing team here at Jazz. But before we get started, I wanted to just go through a couple of housekeeping items with everyone on the line. We are recording the webinar and we'll make sure that everyone gets a copy of the slides and the recording as soon as possible afterwards. We'll also be accepting questions throughout, and we will take all of those at the end, and you can submit those in the chat on your screen. And lastly, if you are really into social media or we say something that you like, join us on the conversation on Twitter using the hashtag #CloseTheLoop and follow us at jazz.co. So with that out of the way, I will introduce our speakers for today, Customer Success Managers here at Jazz, Lila and Randy. And to help you get to know Lila and Randy a bit, we have a few fun facts up here for you. Lila loves to eat pizza, and who doesn't? And has a dog named Tayu, I think that's how you pronounce it, that joins us in the office every now and then. And Randy just found out about the talking heads and might have to educate most of us on the line later about what that means, and also loves to golf. So thank you guys for being here. And before I hand it off to Lila and Randy, I just wanted to give you all a look at what we'll be talking about today. We'll start with best practices on how you can keep applicants in the loop, talk through how you can automate the conversations that you're having with them, and our new bulk email feature. And then we'll show some quick demos of each and end with a Q&A session. So Lila, I will hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Megan. Really appreciate the intro. And people are already talking about Randy just finding out about the Talking Heads. So, you know, I'm proud that people know it's a great band. So anyway, we're going to touch a little bit today on a couple different things. So we want to talk about communication with candidates overall. So in general, you have these kind of 5 touch points. I mean, there may be different touch points depending on how your company works. The initial kind of job description or job posting or advertisement is going to be the first thing that your candidates see whenever they're looking into your company. For the most part, they're just finding out about Word. They don't know anything about you, so this is going to be the first thing that they see. The other kind of next touch point that they're going to feel from you is the auto response whenever they apply for one of your positions, and we're going to go into how to actually change that auto response to be a little bit more candidate friendly, get some more information about your company, and kind of really guide them through the process of how you hire. You can also use questionnaires to survey a candidate after they were hired or declined an offer to figure out maybe where you went wrong. And you can leverage social media throughout their kind of recruiting journey with you or just in general on your social media. So we're going to touch on a couple of these topics today, and I'm going to walk you through how how you can use these in Jazz, especially some of the new features that we've added we're going to be highlighting today. So I'm going to pass it over to Randy, who's just going to talk a little bit about job descriptions.
Cool. Thank you, Lila, and welcome everyone to the webinar. Thank you, Megan, for the introduction. Really appreciate that. I'm going to touch on a slide quickly here and then hand it back to Lila. But we spoke a lot about this 2 weeks ago on our webinar, the job posting and syndication deep dive. And it's really important to create a good, solid job description initially because it's a first impression to the candidate, and you want to make sure that you are advertising a good, clear, quality view of what the position is going to entail, what is important, day-to-day responsibilities, and again, just really painting a clear picture as to what they're going to be doing each and every day. Talk a lot about the perks and benefits of your company, kind of brag about why it's so awesome to work there. That goes a long way, especially with younger folks, millennials. It really is important for a candidate to feel like the company that they're interviewing with is going to be a good, fun work environment, a good quality work environment. So very important to focus on that. And then set expectations, again, just kind of reiterating the fact that you want to make sure the candidate's well aware of what they're going to be walking into and the responsibilities day to day. So just make sure that your job description is very, very thorough in that sense.
Perfect. Thanks, Randy. And we do have a webinar kind of going into detail on this, and you'll get an email that has a link to this and part of the follow-up from Megan. But you can also just search our knowledge base and find the recording for that webinar as well. So we're also going to talk a little bit about auto responses and email templates in Jazz and how you can use those to kind of highlight your process, set some expectations, and some of the touch points that I talked about earlier. I'm also going to walk you through how to bulk email candidates. I'm going to use the example of when a position is actually filled, how you can let candidates know that position is filled and kind of close the loop with them. A lot of candidates, they're applying for your job and they don't necessarily know what's happened unless you tell them. So if you didn't select them for a position and you don't have any way of telling them that you didn't select them, they're just sitting there waiting. Maybe they're not applying for other jobs because they're not sure. So we're going to walk you through just how to set those up and make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to share my screen here and walk you through how to do that in Jazz. Okay. So what we're going to do is first go over to the admin tab, and this is where we're going to set up some of those email notifications. So under admin emails, you can see this list here, and the first option is the automated reply to candidates. This automated reply is really handy to have, and it can give some really nice next steps to your candidates. You can use this opportunity to tell them a little bit more about your company. You can use some customization. You can see here we have this token putting the candidate's first name. We have our token guide here that allows you to select different options. So if you want to put in your email or put in a job title, job URL, your email signature, you can kind of use these to customize the email a little bit more. We have a really bland example, and this is one that, this is a standard one that comes with Jazz, and I would recommend, punching this up a little bit. Say, hey, this is what we're all about, link to your social media, give them something that they might want to read more about, or tell them what their next steps are. Like, you're going to be hearing from us in this many days. If you don't, assume you don't have a position or something like that to kind of give them a feel for your position. You can also change all of the standard emails here, and you can create your own template to add to workflow stages to let candidates know where they're at in the process. So one example I like to use is, letting a candidate know that their resume moves to the next step and that they'll be hearing from you for the step after that. So we could create a template here called, next step, hiring manager review. You've moved along to the next stage. You can just do something really brief, like, congratulations. Your resume was reviewed by our team. We're taking another look to see if you'll meet our qualifications. Just something really brief that lets them know, hey, we like you, you moved along, we don't feel like they're just waiting and they're not sure when they're going to hear back. So once we've created that template, we can add it to our workflow here as an automated response based on workflow stage. So if we happen to say our customer success workflow, and then we want to add it maybe to our phone screen stage, or maybe just our screen stage. If you have a hiring manager review stage, you can add it in, choose your recipient as a candidate, and add the email. So now the candidate will receive this email. You don't have to, wait to hear from them. They don't have to follow up with you, sending you emails like, hey, did you get a chance to look at my resume? What's the status? So this will save you time. It'll save your candidate some grief, and it'll just create a really nice, cohesive experience for them. Everybody likes to know where they're at. In general, when someone doesn't respond to your emails or your texts, it sort of hurts your feelings. So it's nice to be able to know where you're at, especially if you're a candidate that took time to fill out the application for your position. So you can use this example basically anywhere in the workflow that you want to. I'm a big proponent of letting people know when they were not hired as well. You can follow the same steps to add rejection letters to your not hired statuses, and adding any other interviews or any other emails, to any of your other stages that you might need to kind of keep the candidate in the loop. So that's the basics for kind of setting up those automated emails and editing the actual auto responses and some of the canned emails we have in here. The next thing I want to show you is the bulk email feature that will allow you to send bulk email to candidates basically based on a lot of different criteria. The one I want to focus on kind of on the theme of closing the loop is whenever a job is filled, just letting your candidates know, hey, this position was filled, we appreciate your application, and we'll reach out if there are any other opportunities. So if we click in here, we can choose our job. So today I filled my treasure hunter position. And then I want to grab the workflow stage these candidates are in. I only want to email my new and my screen stage candidates. I don't necessarily want to send just a canned email to someone in interview, consider offer stage. You may want to do it differently, but just for my purposes, I want to actually personally follow up with people who came in and interviewed. You can change the date applied here or the rating as well, but we're just going to focus on the workflow stage. And then we'll click search to see our list of candidates. So we can see the search return these 7 candidates. We can select them all at once here, or do select individuals if we're like, oh no, I definitely don't want to send Lucas an email. He's insane. I don't want to get him involved in my process anymore anyway. So we'll just select him and then click send email. Here's where you can agree to the terms of use. You'll have to do this each time. This is just saying, hey, I'm not spamming people. I'm not using this inappropriately. I'm just trying to communicate with my candidates in a bulk way. And then you'll choose your template. Job is filled is one of our system templates, just like the ones that I showed you with auto response. It's any of those ones that have like a little lock next to it. And those you can edit just by clicking on the title. You can grab one of your custom ones as well, but for example, I'm just going to grab this job is filled guy. And you can see here we have these tokens being used again. You can copy and paste them right from the right side if you want to add any additional information. Again, these are pretty bland example here. I'm hoping that you guys, especially after this webinar, will jazz yours up a little bit and make it a little bit more fun. And even though the job was filled, like, hey, we're going to be writing down file, and maybe again use this opportunity to plug your social media or plug your just general job posted page of career, so they can maybe come back and apply to something else. You want to have that good taste in their mouth whenever they leave you, because even if you didn't select them, they might say, hey, I didn't make a good fit for one of their jobs there. They couldn't hire me, but you might want to apply. And they might refer someone who's also really great. And so it was a really great company and spread the word that way. It's definitely happened to me in the past before I got my job here. I had a really good experience. I didn't get the job, but I recommended a ton of people to that company, and they'll forever remain kind of warm in my heart. And they're actually one of our customers here in Pittsburgh. So, every time I see them come up, I feel really good about them. So it really does create that lasting relationship, even though they're not even hired by you. So then we'll hit send bulk email here, and you'll be able to also see this in the candidate's profile. So if I click over into Jessica's profile here, click email, I can see, hey, this is the email I sent, and I can confirm that I sent it out. So this is a great way to, again, close the loop and make sure that you are actually, telling candidates when they're not selected, having a good experience when they enter, and a good experience when they actually, exit. So I will pass it over to Randy, who's going to talk a little bit about just kind of automating some of the screening and getting a little bit more information from him.
Yes, I will. Thank you, Lila. I want to talk a little bit about screening candidates faster and kind of automating or creating efficiencies within your hiring process. To save yourself some time from administrative tasks and kind of the boring tasks that we can help you automate and make your life easier. So I want to do some demonstration here again. I want to talk about automating questionnaires using workflows, which we can definitely take a look at here quickly. Gathering required documentation is really important. And I'll show you a good example of just capturing a file upload from a candidate. That can go a long way. You can actually use it for a wide variety of reasons. I've worked with some of our customers to implement this, and it's really saved a lot of time and created a nice, easy way to capture information from candidates that are eventually going to become employees, et cetera. So we'll take a look at that as well. Another big concern or big issue that a lot of our customers are experiencing is getting feedback on the recruiting process and from a candidate's perspective, identifying how everything has gone. Was it a good experience for the candidate? And getting some feedback to essentially create a better experience for candidates moving forward, and kind of checking yourself to make sure that you're doing a good job and providing a good experience for candidates. So let's go ahead and dive into a couple of examples. All right. So the first thing I want to demonstrate, we're going to take a look at my personal assistant position today. If you've been on the webinars with me in the past, and you can see here we've hired some really awesome personal assistants, so I'm pretty excited about that. Today we have a very special guest that is going to be my personal assistant after today, and that's Phil Collins. You're welcome, everybody. So first thing we're going to do is demonstrate, again, the ability to add workflow helpers and questionnaires in a very customized way to save you a lot of time and create a nice, efficient process. So let's advance Phil to a screen stage. First workflow helper you're going to see here, we have two workflow helpers associated with this stage. We have an automated task to capture feedback from our hiring team to essentially decide if we want to phone screen Phil or interview Phil. The next is a questionnaire that is going to be automatically sent to the candidate. So Phil's actually going to receive an email with a template email that says, hey Phil, go ahead and fill out this evaluation for us or this questionnaire for us so we can capture some additional information on you. So when I confirm the status change, that email is sent automatically behind the scenes. And then over on the right side of my page here under my questionnaires, this is where we have the ability to easily identify if those questionnaires have been filled out. And if they have been, we can actually review the answers. So my initial application process is very simple. It's very short and sweet. We encourage that here at Jazz because we obviously want to attract passive candidates and really make sure that you're getting a good influx of candidates into the pipeline. A long list of interview questions or application questions up front can be a deterrent, and it can kind of stray good candidates, good quality candidates away from applying. So just to show you real quick, my personal assistant questions initially, very, very simple. This is what a candidate sees from a candidate's perspective. What appeals about the job? How many years of experience do you have as a personal assistant? What's your favorite kind of pizza? Again, just short, sweet answers that the candidate can fill out very, very quickly. Now, my other set of questions are culture questions. Again, very easy to fill out and identify if the candidate's going to be the right fit for the position. So again, what I want to demonstrate here is just the flexibility in questionnaires and how you could use them for a variety of reasons, and capturing feedback from candidates post-application. There's a great number of different ways you can use that. So now let's assume that Phil has gone through a processes here. He's phone screened, he's in-person interviewed, and now we're going to go ahead and make Phil an offer. So in doing this, you're going to see that my workflow here has a questionnaire attached to it. So again, an automated email is going to be sent out to the candidate, and in this questionnaire is just a simple file upload, asking the candidate to upload a copy or his driver's license. And let me show you what that looks like here. So I confirm the status change. I see Phil's now in an offer stage. Scroll back under my questionnaires. I have a file upload questionnaire that is simply going to be sent to Phil and say, hey, please upload a copy of your current driver's license. That way we can take it, we can capture it in Jazz as a completed questionnaire, and then we can add it into the documents section here so that we have a number of documents that are associated with hiring this employee attached right to the candidate profile. A great way to stay organized, a really a good way to keep everything in one spot, one location, and make things easier for yourself, for you guys. So now we're going to assume that Phil actually declined our offer, which is disappointing. And I lied earlier. Phil is actually not going to be my personal assistant, which is really unfortunate. But I want to demonstrate the checking yourself and evaluating your process from a candidate's perspective. So let's say that Phil is going to be moved to a not hired status. Again, he has not accepted the offer letter. In doing this, again, I have another questionnaire attached to our workflow stage that's going to automatically send an email, and it's going to ask the candidate to fill out a recruiting process survey. So I go ahead and do that. Again, we see another questionnaire sent to candidates here. When I click on the questionnaire, this is just a quick example of what it could look like on a scale of 1 to 10. Please rate your overall satisfaction with Jazz. And just some very basic questions to ask the candidate and capture that information so you can make your recruiting experience better for future candidates. So the last thing I just want to mention is I want to go into edit the job and just show you what our workflow looks like with these questionnaires attached. You'll see the initial screen stage has my personal assistant questions. If I want to go in and edit here and select a different questionnaire, I can obviously do that. But once you spend that initial time up front, you have the legwork involved up front, it's really going to save you a lot of time in the long run. Automating things in Jazz is a huge time saver. It's something that if you've been on calls with me in the past, I really stress and kind of beat. It kind of gets annoying when I say automation so much, but it's true. We can really help make things a lot easier for you. So definitely take advantage of automating everything you can in Jazz. If you have questions about automating things, you feel free to reach out to our team, support@jazz.co, and we're happy to kind of walk you through creating efficiencies in your process and making things nice and easy. All right. There we go. So moving on, want to just actually, Megan. I think Megan wants to chime in here on the additional resource. Megan, I'll go ahead and let you kind of finish up.
Sure. Thanks, Randy. So we just have a few additional resources up here for you. I apologize that you cannot click on those links right now, but in the slides that we send out after, we will make sure that you get a link to those actual blog posts. We also have a webinar that we just finished setting up today that we'll send along as well that you guys can register for next. And we're working with benefits on that, so that should be a really great webinar on how to successfully manage an onboarding process. So with that, we start question and answer. And Lila, I know you said you were going to run with this one, so off we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Megan. So we did get a question in here. Can you associate a survey for candidates once a rec is closed as an automated task? So you can do it like as an automated task whenever a rec is closed. You would want to do it as just as adding a candidate, like if you're going to put them in a not hired status. Go ahead and add it to the not hired status, and then whenever you bulk disposition candidates in a particular job, it'll be sent out that way. So you'll want to add it as, let me review, sorry, I talk really fast, and I get that feedback all the time, so sorry guys. So what you'll want to do, and I'll share my screen here so I can actually walk you through it. Let's see. So great question, Tim. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and add a questionnaire to a not hired status. So Randy has it already added in here, recruiting process survey. Then whenever you fill a rec, you can come into the candidates tab and click the search icon. You'll select the job that you just filled. So I'm going to use my treasure hunter example again. I'm sort of obsessed with Stranger Things, so I can't stop talking about it. And then we'll go over and bulk select all of the candidates here. Scroll down, click Batch Action, change status, put them in a not hired status. And then any workflow helpers that we have associated with this will actually send out. So emails, questionnaires, anything will send out as a moving these candidates to a not hired status. So that's kind of how you would want to get those bulk surveys whenever you fill a position. If you want, you can filter by status and then deselect people. So if you didn't want to send it to somebody that you've actually hired full-time or you've interviewed, just want to send it to your new or screening candidate, you can do that too. Again, just change status and then put them in that not hired status, and that workflow helper will populate and send along that questionnaire, just as if it were any other questionnaire basically. So I'll just walk through it one more time because it's pretty easy, but you want to make sure that you select the job. That's the number one thing that I get questions on. People saying, I can't see, the actual change status option. You need to select the job first. So once you select that job, you'll be able to see that very easily. All right.
I'm going to go ahead and chime in here. So a couple more great questions came in, and one regarding if we reject a candidate, and within that rejection letter that we send automatically, we mentioned that we're going to consider him for future openings. How are we going to recognize him and basically not overlook him in the future? And that is an awesome question. So I get started about talking about candidate pools and pipeline candidates, and I get really excited. So my suggestion is to identify that candidate and add them into either a great future hire job bucket or a candidate pool job bucket. So let me just show you what I mean here. You'll see that we've created a candidate pool in our account. And any candidate that we reject and we want to just keep in mind for future opportunities, or if they have a good fit, say they come in as for a Java developer, they don't necessarily have those Java developer skills, they're more fit for a PHP role, we can put them in our candidate pool. We can attach categories to them, and we can identify them for future roles. So let's just say, for example, let's go back into Phil Collins here. And let's say Phil has been rejected. He's been not hired. What I can do is I can click into Phil's profile. I can select a job down here, and I can add a job to Phil. And we can add that candidate pool position to Phil. I can also, scrolling down on the right side, add categories. So if I say that Phil's going to be a great future hire as a PHP developer, I can do that. So I can either identify Phil from our candidate pool that we've created, or from our categories that we've attached to Phil. So that's ultimately going to be your best way to kind of identify a candidate for a future role. Definitely a good way to pipeline your candidates and just make it a little easier for you.
Great. Glad Ray didn't get overexcited talking about candidate pipeline. He held back, yeah. So, and then Catherine asked, when you have set up an automated email for a workflow or a status change, will you still get prompted before it sends? Yeah, absolutely. So if I come into a candidate's profile here, and I'm going to go to Nancy, she's my jam these days, and I want to just position her maybe into a screen stage. You'll see these workflow helpers popping up. You can deselect them at any time. So if you just want to remove these tabs, you can do that and then click confirm status change and nothing will happen. If you want to eventually put her in a not hired stage, you can deselect that email. So you don't necessarily have to send these out every single time. It's something that you can select and deselect as you move them through the stages. So it's not a requirement. We have another question here. Is there any way to limit the candidate submission to just one position as opposed to many? There's no way to limit how many times the candidate applies to your job or actually which jobs they apply to. So that's one reason why I recommend, a lot of these processes that we're talking about today. Following up, giving them an idea of your process. You can even ask them or say straight up whenever they apply for the job in that auto response, multiple applicants will not be considered. Anything to sort of dissuade that if you do get a lot of those multiple applications. You'll also be flagged, as we brought up here, that the candidate could be a duplicate based on their email address. So you'll be able to see the candidate profile associated with the other jobs. Randy uses email for a lot of candidates in here. These are all secret Randy candidates. So
as Lila mentioned, Jazz does identify duplicates or potential duplicates based on email address. So I've gone in here and just created these candidates and used my email address. That's why you're seeing so many. But it's not rare to see a candidate applying for multiple positions, and Jazz is going to identify them as a potential duplicate based on the email address they use. So just keep that in mind. Sorry to interrupt.
No, yeah, that's a great point, and it leads into another question we had just about, seeing all the documents or everything associated with a candidate profile whenever you actually move them into a different job. And yeah, you can see when I click the duplicate link that I see all these instances. So if that was Phil Collins over and over and over again, I would see all of his profiles. I could click on other jobs that he was in, and I'd be able to see, anything associated with his profile with that other job. So it's easy to switch back and forth between these, with this option here. And you can reorder these too. So if you don't want to see the other jobs on the top, you can come in and deselect it, or you can reorder it entirely and drag it on up to the top here, based on what makes sense for your kind of views and how you're recruiting. So, okay. I believe that's all I wanted to show on the merging front. We had another question in here.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if there's some confusion on this, but we're not necessarily encouraging you to keep unqualified candidates for future reference, but sometimes people are rejected just based on their skill set. So, for example, if someone comes in and they're very strong with a certain sales tool, if they're very strong with Salesforce, but they have no experience using ACT, you want to identify them for a future position in which you might be looking for someone who has that experience using Salesforce. So again, identifying candidates for future positions that may have a skill set that would make them a good fit for that position.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it depends on the type of job you're hiring for. Some people definitely need pipelining. It's a competitive market. They need good candidates of all kinds. Some people get an overwhelming amount of unqualified candidates. So, suppose you might just want to put in a reject bucket and not ever think about them ever again. But, it just depends on the type of jobs that you're hiring for. Both of the things that we showed you today should be pretty helpful regardless of whether or not you're needing to pipeline candidates or you're just needing to screen them faster. Questionnaires can really speed up that screening process, and even editing those auto reply emails or creating additional emails there will really help you sort of streamline a lot of that. I had a customer recently who just added questionnaires to her application, which helps so much in just reducing the amount of applicants that she hires for positions that is a lot of entry-level folks and they need a couple basic requirements, or just following up with an additional questionnaire can knock a lot of those candidates out. So it just really depends on how you're hiring, what kind of people you're hiring for, and whether or not a candidate pool or some maybe more auto-screening tasks might be useful for you. I hope that makes sense. But so no more questions as of now. If anyone has any additional questions, our success knowledge base is a great way to come grab that information. So if you want to hop over there, it's just success.jazz.co, and you can search, find answers. You can also contact our support team through there. So I highly recommend clicking through and investigating if you haven't yet already. We have a lot of nice walkthroughs on there as well. So Without further ado, I'll just pass it over to Megan. And if anyone has any questions, you know where to reach us. support@jobs.co is also a great one.
Yeah, thank you, Lila and Randy. That was great. I hope you guys got some great information out of that. As I mentioned, we are going to be sending the slides and a copy of the recording in either this afternoon or tomorrow morning. So stay on the lookout for that. And I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for joining.